Right now, beneath the feet of pedestrians who are just, drinking lattes in Montreal, there is this massive piece of invisible infrastructure that is silently fighting climate change.
It's actually kind of wild to think about.
It is wild because when you picture a city park, your mind probably goes straight to like a patch of green grass,
Yeah.
a slide, a couple of swings, maybe some wooden benches.
Yeah, just a very traditional, quiet little escape.
Exactly. We tend to view these spaces as just that simple escapes, but you might need to completely rethink that image. Today's deep dive is pulling from this really fascinating urban development analysis across wikiresidence.ca and infodrone.ca,
Hmm.
and it reveals that modern Montreal parks are secretly functioning as, well, heavy lifting urban infrastructure. I mean, they are acting as massive economic engines and literally the ultimate social glue holding neighborhoods together.
Yeah. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, I'd love to, because we really are looking at like a complete evolution of the urban landscape here.
For a long time, landscape design was treated as an afterthought.
Yeah.
It was just you build the city, and whatever space is left over, you throw down some sod and plant a tree.
Just fill in the blanks.
Exactly. But the philosophy we're seeing in this analysis shows a total reversal of that mindset. Landscape design today is fundamentally about three interconnected pillars.
Okay, what are they?
So you have ecological resilience, artistic expression, and this is a big one driving real estate value.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, we are basically asking our public spaces to manage stormwater, tell the cultural story of the community, and act as a catalyst for economic revitalization, like all at the exact same time.
All at once, that's a lot of pressure on a park.
It really is.
Well, to see that philosophy in action, I want to start our journey in the Marconi-Alexandra sector.
Oh, right, in the Rosemont-La Petite-Patrie borough.
Yeah, exactly. So, for you listening, imagine this oblique-shaped strip of land sitting right at the corner of Boubion West and Saint-Urbain streets. It is incredibly small. Like, we're talking under 5,000 square meters.
Yeah.
Very tiny footprint.
Super tiny. And I actually struggle a bit with the premise here, because when we talk about urban ecology or shifting real estate markets, how does a space that small actually move the needle?
Well, it moves the needle through the sheer force of community intervention, honestly.
Yeah, just the community.
Yeah, I mean, this site is called Parc de Goury, and its origin story is just entirely rooted in citizen mobilization.
Right.
Back in 2013, the private owner of this lot just suddenly cut down about 50 trees.
Oh, wow. Just out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. And the residents living in that immediate area were understandably outraged. So they organized themselves into this group called Les Amis du Parc de Goury.
Okay.
And they were just so relentless in their protests and, their planning that they literally forced the city of Montreal to intervene.
That's amazing.
It is. By 2017, the city expropriated the site just to save it and transform it into a protected public space. And the way they honored that protest is genuinely fascinating to me. They installed public art, but it isn't just like a traditional bronze statue of a guy on a horse, right?
Right. No, not at all.
Artists Salima Punjani and Natasha Clatandra won a competition to create this piece called Les Embranchements Fructueux, or Fruitful Branches. And the source mentions it's let me get this right, a vibrotactile sound and light installation featuring 2 aluminum stumps.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got to ask, how does vibrotactile art actually work in a park setting?
So it basically means the art is designed to be felt physically, not just seen with your eyes.
Okay.
When you touch these aluminum stumps, which, by the way, intentionally evoke the memory of those 50 trees that were cut down,
Yeah.
you can actually feel the vibrations of an audio track playing right through the metal.
Wait, really? You feel the audio?
Yeah, exactly. And the audio itself is made up of poetry, archival stories, and testimonies that were collected directly from the residents and activists during these community workshops.
Oh, that is so cool. So you are physically feeling the voices of the people who fought to secure the ground you are standing on.
Exactly. It's a very visceral experience.
That is a brilliant way to embed the history of the neighborhood into the physical environment. But there's a lot more going on beneath those aluminum stumps, isn't there? Because the analysis calls Parc de Goury a sponge park.
Yes.
And if they only had 5,000 square meters to work with, how much water can they realistically manage?
Actually, quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah, because of how a bioretention basin is engineered. You see, a traditional park often has, really compacted soil that just sheds water right into the city sewers
Yeah.
during a big storm.
Right, the water just rolls right off.
Exactly. But a sponge park is designed more like a slow-release valve.
Okay, how does that work?
So the landscapers excavate the site, and then they layer in very specific types of gravel, sand, and these highly permeable soils. And then on top of that, they plant deep-rooted vegetation.
Got it.
At Parc des Guerriers, they packed in this microforest of over 4,000 plants.
4,000 in that tiny space.
Yeah. So when heavy rain hits, the water doesn't just rush into the street and flood everything. It pools in this basin, gets filtered by all those roots, and then slowly percolates into the water table over, hours or even days.
Which obviously takes a massive amount of pressure off the municipal sewer system.
Exactly.
And there's a serious financial ripple effect here, too, according to the sources. The Marconi-Alexandra sector has been mutating from this old industrial area into a highly sought-after neighborhood. Like, old warehouses are turning into tech hubs and trendy spaces.
Right.
And because this little sponge park manages the flooding and provides this incredibly rich cultural resting spot, it has literally become a massive real estate magnet. It completely changed the financial trajectory of the immediate area.
It really demonstrates that, high-impact urban resilience doesn't actually require massive acreage.
Yeah.
However, grassroots mobilization does have its limits. Like when you are dealing with a citywide environmental crisis, you can't just rely on 5,000 square meters and a local neighborhood committee.
Right, you need something bigger.
Yeah, you need massive municipal intervention.
Which brings us to Parc Frédéric Back in the Villeray-Saint-Michel Park Extension Borough. And I mean, the contrast in scale here is just staggering. We are moving from a tiny strip of land to a project spanning 153 hectares.
It's massive.
Yeah, the city has invested over $130 million into this space since 2017, and it won't even be fully finished until, 2025 or 2026?
Yeah, around then. And the scale is honestly difficult to comprehend if you haven't walked it yourself.
Yeah.
To understand why the budget is so astronomically high, you really have to look at what this ground used to be.
Okay, what was it?
Well, for decades, this site was the Miron landfill and a former limestone quarry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was this massive ecologically toxic depression right in the middle of the city, just a literal urban scar.
But when you visit today, the landscape looks almost otherworldly. The analysis notes that the park is dotted with these large, glowing, phosphorescent spheres. It's like, I don't know, like a set piece from a science fiction film.
It really does look like that.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Those spheres aren't just decorative. They are actually covering active biogas capture wells.
Yes, they are.
Now, I understand that landfills produce gas, but how does an active gas well safely coexist with a public park that is hosting like over 1 million visitors a year?
So what's fascinating here is how they managed anaerobic digestion.
Anaerobic digestion.
Yeah, so when millions of tons of garbage just sit underground, bacteria break it down without any oxygen, which produces methane. And methane is a highly flammable greenhouse gas.
So you can't just ignore it.
No, absolutely not. You cannot just pave over a landfill, plant some grass, and call it a day. The methane would build up and create a very severe explosive hazard.
Yikes. Okay.
So the city had to install this complex network of wells driven deep down into the trash to actively vacuum out that gas.
And instead of hiding those industrial wellheads behind like ugly chain link fences or something, they covered them with these beautiful glowing spheres.
Exactly. That is the true genius of the design. They actively chose to illuminate the technology that is healing the site.
Oh, I love that.
It's a complete synthesis of heavy environmental engineering and public art.
Huh.
And you also find artworks like Elaine Martin Richards and Amne's 1+1, which is this installation featuring bronze chairs just kind of scattered throughout the landscape.
Better everywhere.
Yeah. Finding one almost feels like stumbling across a ghost of the site's past. They are honoring the history of the land, even the really ugly parts of it, while making it completely safe for the public today.
And the impact on the surrounding borough of Saint-Michel has just been profound. I mean, for years, living next to a massive, smelling landfill, understandably depressed property values, and frankly, local morale.
Oh, definitely.
But the source material highlights that ever since the first phases of the park opened, neighboring property values have seen an appreciation well above the Montreal average.
Right, and I'd argue the psychological shift is just as important as the financial one.
How so?
Well, transforming a literal garbage dump into a global benchmark for ecological rehabilitation that restores an incredible amount of pride to the citizens of Saint-Michel. It basically proves that no space is too damaged to be reclaimed.
That is a great point. So we've seen a grassroots sponge park and this colossal rehabilitated landfill. But The analysis points out that you don't always need an empty lot or an old quarry to build this kind of infrastructure. Sometimes you can carve it right out of a busy commercial artery.
Yes. We're looking now at the corner of Montreal Avenue and Montana Street.
Right into the Plateau Mont Royal.
Exactly. And this is a very, very different urban context. It is a highly trafficked, dense commercial zone.
Oh, totally. If you walk down Mont Royal Avenue in the summer, it is often completely pedestrianized and just packed with people.
Right.
And the Plateau Mont Royal Borough, along with landscape architects NIP Paysage and the engineering firm EXP, spent nearly $2.6 million to create Montreal's first water square here. It's called Place des Fleurs de Macadam.
Mm.
But, if you are a local business owner on that street, watching the city tear up a bustling intersection to build a $2.6 million square might seem like a huge, unnecessary disruption. So what does this all mean for the local businesses on this major artery? How does a project like this actually serve the local economy?
That's a great question. Urban planners focus really heavily on a concept called the linger effect.
The linger effect. Okay, what is that?
So when a street is just a flat expanse of asphalt, pedestrians and cyclists tend to just keep moving, right? They want to get from point A to point B. They might pass right by a bakery or a cafe without even looking.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But by introducing a beautifully designed square, which, by the way, features this subtle ground design paying tribute to Jean-Pierre Ferland's song, The Fleur de Macadam, you interrupt that forward momentum.
You give them a reason to stop.
Exactly. You give them seating, some shade, and just a generally pleasant environment. And when people stop and rest, they are significantly more likely to consume locally.
Oh, I see.
They buy a coffee, they grab a pastry, and they just sit in the square. This consolidates the commercial appeal of the entire avenue.
But the real magic of a water square happens entirely out of sight, doesn't it? Like, if they paved over the street to create this pedestrian plaza, where does all the water go when a massive summer thunderstorm hits?
It goes right underneath the benches and the plantings.
Just straight down.
Yeah. Hidden beneath the surface is a massive rainwater retention basin. So very similar to the sponge park we discussed earlier, this square is engineered with subterranean voids and specialized soils. It captures the water right where it falls.
Oh.
Yeah, instead of rainwater rushing off the concrete, picking up street pollutants, and just overwhelming the city sewer system, the water square basically drinks it in. It is a living landscape artwork that serves as critical climate change infrastructure.
So it is essentially performing three jobs at once. It creates a social gathering space, it drives local economic consumption through that linger effect you mentioned, and it prevents flooding. It kind of makes you wonder how many other plazas you walk across that are secretly managing the city's water right beneath your feet.
I know. You start looking at the city completely differently.
You really do. But building a brand new water square is one thing. What happens when a city has to fix a massive, highly trafficked park that was, historically speaking, a complete failure?
Yes. That brings us to our final case study, which is the renovated Square Viger located downtown in the Ville-Marie borough.
Right. And the context for Square Viger is vital here. It is this large quadrilateral space bounded by Viger, Santon, Saint-Denis, and Berry streets. It basically sits at a massive intersection of urban life, connecting Old Montreal, the CHEM Hospital Center, and the downtown core.
It's extremely central.
Yeah, the source notes it sees over 15,000 daily crossings. But for a very long time, it was considered a major problem area.
Yeah, the source text is actually quite blunt about it. It describes the old Square Viger as a closed, unsafe, and overly mineralized space.
Wait, overly mineralized, meaning it was dominated by concrete.
Exactly. Just way too much concrete.
Which leads to a major question I had about their renovation strategy. The city and its partners spent approximately $28 million on a complete overhaul of this space. But a significant portion of that budget was spent specifically to preserve and enhance Charles Daudelin's brutalist concrete artwork, specifically the Mestodo fountain in Alagora.
Right.
Now, brutalism is an architectural style literally defined by heavy, imposing blocks of concrete. If the core problem was that the square felt like an unsafe concrete bunker, why did they spend $28 million to preserve the brutalist art? Why not just demolish it and start fresh?
Well, it really cuts to the heart of how we handle urban heritage today. The philosophy guiding this whole renovation was that you don't erase heritage just because the space around it became dysfunctional. Daudelin's brutalist sculptures actually hold significant artistic and historical value for Montreal. The failure of Square Viger wasn't the concrete art itself. It was the oppressive, completely closed-off context surrounding the art.
Ah, so it's a problem of framing.
Exactly.
But how do you reframe a massive concrete fountain so it stops feeling so oppressive?
You change the psychology of the space using landscape architecture.
Okay, how did they do that?
Well, the design team opened up the sightlines so you could actually see through the square from the street, which instantly eliminated that feeling of being trapped or hidden.
Right, safety, visibility.
Yeah, and they integrated new, modern lighting elements to make it feel safe at night. And, probably most importantly, they heavily greened the environment by planting over 130 new trees.
130. Wow. That contrast makes a lot of sense, actually. Like a concrete structure surrounded by dark corners and asphalt feels like a bunker, but a concrete structure surrounded by an airy canopy of 130 illuminated trees, that feels like a modern art oasis.
Yes. And that shift serves a deeply emotional purpose, too, especially given its specific location.
Right, the hospital.
Yes, the proximity to the CAM, which is one of the largest hospital centers in the city, it cannot be overstated. Hospitals are extremely high-stress environments. Patients, medical staff, families who might be receiving difficult news, they all desperately need a space to just decompress.
Yeah, somewhere to breathe.
Exactly. By transforming this unsafe block into an airy, secure, green resting place, they provided an essential psychological release valve for that entire medical community.
The human element there is paramount. I love that. However, the analysis also makes it very clear that a $28 million downtown renovation always has a financial motive attached to
Oh,
it.
of course.
Yeah?
That was a highly calculated strategic move. You have to remember, the eastern sector of downtown Montreal has massive real estate potential. But investors are naturally hesitant to build luxury residential or high-end commercial properties right next to a dark, unsafe concrete square.
Right. So spending $28 million on trees and lighting was essentially a massive signal to the real estate market.
It was. It completely unblocked the real estate potential of that entire quadrant. By fixing the broken anchor of the neighborhood, the city stimulated and reassured the integration of new residential and commercial developments all around it.
The interconnectedness of all these projects is just remarkable. I mean, we started in Marconi, Alexandra, looking at how a tiny group of citizens saved 5,000 square meters, resulting in a high-tech bioretention basin with, vibrotactile art.
Right.
Then we zoomed out to the glowing sci-fi landscape of a 153-hectare rehabilitated landfill at Park Frederick Back.
Hmm.
We explored the subterranean engineering of a water square capturing rain beneath the feet of coffee drinkers on Montreal Avenue. And finally, we saw how framing brutalist concrete with 130 new trees unlocked the real estate potential of downtown at Square Vujer.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the overarching lesson across all these development analyses is that the urban landscape is performing invisible labor.
Invisible labor.
Yes. The next time you walk through a modern city, realize that the bench you sit on, the plaza you cross, and the canopy of trees right above you, they are likely executing a highly complex strategy. They are mitigating the severe threats of climate change. They are carefully calibrated to boost surrounding property values, and they're acting as the social cement holding that specific community together.
It definitely changes how you look at a simple patch of grass.
It really does.
Well, before we wrap up this deep dive, there is a final kind of provocative thought I want to leave you with based on a recurring theme in the source material.
Go away.
We saw a heavy emphasis on how these beautiful, resilient parks cause neighboring property values to skyrocket. We saw it in Saint Michel, we saw it downtown, and we saw it in Marconi, Alexandra. But if transforming these urban scars and wastelands into stunning real estate magnets drives up property values so dramatically, do we run the risk of eventually pricing out the very citizens who fought to build them?
Oh, wow.
Like, if Parc des Gorilles becomes too successful, can the activists who demanded it still afford to live next to it?
That highlights a very real tension in urban renewal. Building better infrastructure is absolutely necessary, but managing the subsequent waves of gentrification is arguably the next great challenge for city planners.
It really is a complex puzzle. Just something for you to ponder the next time you're seeking a quiet escape and you sit down on a wooden bench in your favorite local park. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Thank you for watching this video. For more news and in-depth reports, visit wikiresidence.ca. All our content is available in text and audio formats across all your devices. Please feel free to share your comments with us.